24 books! Ooh, I have a problem. Oh, hello, loves. I'm Tatiana Volk, and today we are going to do a massive book haul. Primarily a POC book haul, which I'm really excited about because this is a lot. We have romance books, epic fantasy books, and some mystery, suspense, and thriller books. I am really lucky to have been able to get all of these books recently. We're gonna go through them and I think we're gonna have a good time. But first, before we get started, I will be reading some of the blurbs, but I'm not reading the whole thing because we have so many books to go through and I do not want this to take forever. Let us quickly start with the non-POC books. Starting with reliable recipes. I know this is super random. I love vintage stuff. This is just a old vintage recipe book. I thought it was super cute. Not much to say. I got it. I also ended up getting this book, Happy Charlie by Hearst & Co., which is really just an old book cover by because look at how friggin' gorgeous that is. Yes! I have no clue what it's about. Have no intention of reading it, honestly. I think I might do a like reading my old vintage books, but I imagine that might be upsetting as a person of color. So maybe I won't. Then another cover by that I got was So This Is Ever After by F.T. Lukens. Look at this illustration. I believe it's queer, so we're here for it. Although in all honesty, I now in my life tend to prefer female-female queer romances instead of male-male, but when I was younger I used to be all for that, which is a problem. But So This Is Ever After is a heartfelt and whimsical waltz towards true love. Lukens weaves a warm and hilarious rom-com about prophecies and magic spells and what happens after you hack off the head of your villain with a rusty magical sword. Trust me, this is going to be your new favorite comfort read. Okay, that's cute. That's cute. That sounds cute. Here for it. Next up, I actually have an Illumicrate book, which is The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd Jones. Emily Lloyd Jones. And this one says, oceans will rise, a kingdom will fall. So it seems very fantasy-esque. I'm assuming oceans and mermaids and things like that. I could be totally wrong. Kingdoms of Wales were rife with magic and conflict. 18-year-old married Mer is well acquainted with both. As the last living water diviner, she can manipulate water with magic, a unique elemental power many would kill to possess. Magic water fantasy sounds fun. And the last four I actually hauled in a vlog, which I will link here and down below if you're interested in seeing more about it. I actually read both of these in different vlogs, and then I ended up picking these up but haven't read them. So we have The Marsh King's Daughter by Karen Dione. Eerie and breathtaking, terrific and terrifying in the best possible way. In this mesmerizing psychological thriller, a woman must hunt down the dangerous man who shaped her past and now threatens to steal her future. Her father. Seems interesting. I'm here for it. Hopefully it's enjoyable. Next up we have And Only to Deceive by Tasha Alexander. And this one, Alexander has produced a sophisticated, wonderfully detailed whodunit that displays her promise as a novelist. While trying to learn more about her late husband, she ends up in a dangerous mystery involving rare stolen artifacts. Sounds fun. I like historical stuff, so this is right up my alley. And then, as I've mentioned, I've already read these so far. This one is Poison Pins by Joan Hess. It's a cozy mystery about a bookshop owner who lives next to a sorority where somebody ends up dying and she's trying to solve what's going on. And then this one is The Spectre of Justice by Marc de Castrique. And this one is another cozy mystery sort of situation. There are some like intense moments in here, so I don't know if it really counts as cozy mystery. We have a military private detective who's involved in a serious case that goes wrong, and then some murders happen close to home, and somebody he cares about is the main suspect, so he needs to figure out what is actually going on. And then We All Fall Down is a complex four-perspective queer fantasy about a bunch of characters who are dealing with not feeling like they fit in and then who are in this really complex world where magic was lost when the kingdom fell and somehow they're connected. And I'm really interested in seeing how it goes on. There's a lot to it. It's fairly complex. It's interesting. It's different. Hopefully the next one will be enjoyable. I liked it. Now, that actually leads into our first POC books. This one is Patron Saints of Nothing by Randy Rebay, and it is about a Filipino-American boy whose Filipino cousin dies, and he's trying to figure out what happened when his family is being super hush-hush and on the DL about what went down, so he goes and tries to unearth the truth behind what happened to his cousin. And it was really powerful, really enjoyed it. If you want to know more, check out the vlog. Next up, we have Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas, and I don't know anything about this other than it's supposed to be a spooky, possibly supernatural, like haunted house-esque thriller. I could be totally wrong, but I don't want to know, because basically this is the type of book I like going in with the least amount of knowledge, so I don't want to spoil it for myself. I think it's supposed to be weird. I think it's supposed to be spooky. I think to some sense it's supposed to be nonsensical and maybe even slow, but I don't know. I could be totally wrong. Then, because I do like historical stuff, I ended up getting The Conductors and the Undertakers by Nicole Glover. It says, Connie Rhodes and her husband were conductors on the Underground Railroad, ferrying dozens of slaves to freedom with daring, cunning, and magic that draws its power from the constellations. With the war over, those skills find a new purpose as Hetty and Benji solve mysteries and murders that white authorities would otherwise ignore. Okay, that's sad, but also amazing. I'm really excited. Really excited. I knew I got these for a reason. Moving on to some sequels, I ended up getting This Wicked Fate by Kaylin Bayron and Blood Like Fate by Leslie Sambury. I read the first in these series earlier in the year, really enjoyed them. So excited to read these. I'm actually currently working on a reading vlog that includes both of these books, so if you want to see that, stay tuned. It should be coming out pretty soon. This is like an urban fantasy sort of deal with a girl who has magical powers where she can kind of manipulate and connect with plants, and she is able to kind of deal with some of the more dangerous types of plants. And when her aunt ends up, I guess, passing away, she inherits her house and discovers that she's connected to all of this intense, bigger situation type of thing. Great description, Tatiana. But the first book was really enjoyable. It got real crazy at the end. Really interested in seeing how it progresses. Even though there is a romantic dynamic that I'm not a huge fan of in it, I don't necessarily think it's the worst. It's just not my cup of tea. So that's kind of a bummer, but hopefully I will still enjoy this. And then as for Blood Like Fate, the first book in this series is about a girl in this world where witches are connected with blood. So there's blood magic, and because of that, if you are a female witch, you tend to come upon your powers when you get your first blood or your first period. And on that time, you end up getting some sort of challenge to help unlock your magical powers, which is handed down by your ancestors. And our main character gets a really, really intense challenge that she's not sure she's going to be able to do, and if she is unable to do it, she risks losing her entire family's magic, which has some dire consequences. And it ended up taking some interesting turns, and I'm really interested in seeing how the sequel follows up with all of that. Then I got Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This one, everybody and their mama is talking about this book. Like, everybody who is interested in fantasy seems to love this series or this trilogy. I just got the first book in the trilogy. I'm really excited to pick it up. It is inspired by real events, I believe, but obviously with a fantastical and magical twist. There's a poor possibly orphaned girl who ends up somehow getting into this school for these trials, and it's a big deal, and the caretakers are upset because they were going to kind of sell her off, and now they're not going to be able to because she's in this prestigious school and nobody thinks she's going to succeed. And I think there's all of this, you know, like big events and war and politics and all kinds of stuff, but it's supposed to be done in a really interesting and well done way. So I'm excited to see if it's actually worth the hype. Then I ended up getting 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim, and this one is supposed to be another kind of epic-ish fantasy as far as I can tell. The little quick blurb says, a princess in exile, a shape-shifting dragon, 6 enchanted cranes, and an unspeakable curse. It will take more than magic to find their way home. So I believe there's something about either her brothers are turned to cranes, and if she speaks, she risks killing them or something like that. So she has to help them and I guess turn them back without speaking. I don't know. This is gonna be an interesting read. I love the cover. It's definitely gorgeous, and hopefully the inside is as good as the outside. Next up, I got Charming as a Verb by Ben Felipe, and this, as far as I can tell, is a little bit of a romance, packed solid with freestyle wit, real bestie charm, and the everyday diverse glory of New York City. There's only one person who seems immune to Henry's charms, his intense classmate and neighbor, Corinne Troy. When she uncovers Henry's less than honest dog walking scheme, she blackmails him into helping her change her image at school. Henry agrees, seeing a potential upside for himself. So yeah, that seems fun. I'm totally into the, I'm assuming, fake dating trope. This doesn't really seem like a romance though. It seems more like a YA coming of age sort of situation. So a little bit nervous, let's be honest. I didn't realize that this was gonna be so YA. Seems like it should have been obvious. Duh, but hopefully I still end up enjoying it. It's funny, anytime I do something like this, it's almost like I am discovering these books for the first time, because in all honesty, I am not the best at like looking at the details of a book when I buy it, because I like going in pretty blind. So when I like read these blurbs, I'm all like, what even is this? Anyway, the next book is Tahira in Bloom by Farah Haran. And this one looks like it is about aspiring designer whose internship falls through, and her parents have a plan B, which kind of puts her in her aunt's boutique in a small town. And she ends up meeting a rude, totally obsessive garden nerd next door with frayed cutoffs and terrible shoes. And obviously they're gonna fall for each other, because I'm pretty sure this is a romance. It is another YA, which is kind of a bummer, but I like the cover, I like the idea. I'm interested in seeing what it's all about, and hopefully I enjoy it. Is that all I'm gonna say for like all of this? Hopefully I like all of these books. That's why I bought them. Next up we have Now That I Found You by Christina Forrest. I think this is another YA romance, and it's from the same person who wrote I Want to Be Where You Are, which was another YA romance that I liked more than I thought. So it makes me excited to read another book from her. It says, following in the footsteps of her urban famous grandma, 18-year-old Evie Jones is poised to be Hollywood's next big star. That is, until a close friend's betrayal, leads to her being blacklisted. Ouch. To save her floundering career, Evie must make a public appearance with America's most beloved actress, her grandma Gigi, aka the Evelyn Conaway. The only problem, days before Evie is to present her grandma with an honorary award in front of Hollywood's elite, Gigi does the unthinkable. She disappears. With her comeback on the line, Evie reluctantly enlists the help of the last person to see Gigi before she vanished, Milo Williams, a cute musician Evie isn't sure she can trust. As Evie and Milo conduct a manhunt across New York City, romance and adventure abound, while Evie makes some surprising discoveries about her grandma and herself. I love the cover, I love the idea, I'm interested in seeing how it goes. Then we have Savvy Sheldon Feels Good as Hell by Taj McCoy. Now, I definitely got this for some fat representation and obviously POC rep, so I'm really excited we don't get enough of that. And I love having more books that have Black romance leads, which you may have noticed by several of the books that I got. A lot of the romance that I read that have Black female characters end up having white male leads. So it's nice to have some chocolate man representation. So this one says a delicious debut rom-com about a plus-size sweetheart who gets a full life makeover after a brutal breakup. But yeah, sounds really cute, really excited to read this. Definitely in the romance mood. So yeah. Then we have What a Match by Mimi Grace. I freaking love the illustrator that does her books. Like, yes, get your coin, hunty, because you are doing a good job. Like, these are beautiful. Gorgeous, baby, gorgeous. Yeah, so I got What a Match by Mimi Grace. I read Make a Scene and absolutely loved it, so I wanted to get more books from her. This one says, sometimes what you're looking for is right under your nose. So I'm assuming friends to lovers sort of situation. That's not necessarily a trope that I love, but hopefully I enjoy it regardless. Then before we get to the last book, I ended up getting It All Comes Back to You by Farah Naz Rashid, and it says, I know exactly who Dean Malik is. Of course I know who he is. As much as I want to, and trust me, I really do. I could never forget the name of my one and only ex. Okay. So I guess this is gonna be a second chance enemies to lovers sort of thing. It says all's fair in love and loathing. I'm here for it. Again, loving the vibe. So hopefully it's a good one. Moving on to the last book. I did get this children's book in Portuguese because I am trying to learn Portuguese, so I thought it would be nice to get this. I'm not going to attempt to read it though because my Portuguese is awful. Eu falo muito pouco português. And that is it for this book haul. I'm really excited to read all of these books, as I think I mentioned like 50 million times in this video. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing some of the new books that I got on my bookshelves. If you have any suggestions on which ones you might want to see me read in a near future vlog, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you have any suggestions for just different types of books by POC authors that feature POC characters, please let me know. I am definitely trying to expand my collection because it's really easy for me to get the hyped up books by white authors, and it's a lot harder to find the ones by minorities. So that is something I'm always actively looking for and definitely want to grow my collection. So if you have anything, please let me know. That being said, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for sticking around this long. If you did stay this long, include this emoji down below. Subscribe, become a channel bestie for extra videos and just to help support the channel. And I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye! POC rat cheerleader. POC, POC.